Prime Minister Sheikh instructs to construct modern storage centers for agro-products in the country's 8 divisions to keep supply of daily commodities normal in markets. There is no crisis in the country to initiate political dialogue. BNP's demand to hold dialogues is meaningless, says al-Qadir. Government working with international support to ensure safe release of Bangladeshi sailors held hostage by Somali pirates, says Foreign Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood. Government continues its efforts to safely bring back the crew of hijacked Bangladeshi ship in the Indian Ocean, says State Minister for Shipping. Bangladesh Railway will start selling advanced train tickets from March 24th and continue till March 30th ahead of Eid al-Fitr. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reaffirms to conduct ground operation at Rafah in Gaza. And Bangladesh batting with victory target of 256 runs against Sri Lanka at first ODI of 3-match series in Chattogram. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Tasnuwa Tasnim welcoming you to News at 10. You have just heard the headlines, now moving on to the details. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has directed the authorities concerned to construct modern agricultural product storage centers in 8 divisions of the country to keep the supply of essential commodities normal in the market. The Prime Minister gave the directive at the Cabinet meeting held with Prime Minister in the chair at the Prime Minister's office today. After the meeting, Cabinet Secretary Mohammad Mahbub Hossain briefed the reporters at the Secretariat. The Cabinet Secretary said Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina requested the people not to hold iftar party during the month of Ramadan and stand beside the helpless people with that money. He said in the meeting, the Prime Minister directed to build agro-based cooperatives in light of the dream of Father of the Nation. Awami League General Secretary and Road Transport and Bridges Minister al-Qadir said, at the moment there is no crisis before the nation, so that political parties should go for dialogues. He said the main purpose of the current government is to take the country to its expected development goals, leaving behind conspiracies and hurdles of anti-state evil forces. The Awami League General Secretary said this in a statement issued today in response to illogical and unjustified comments of BNP leaders. He said that the current government was elected in the 12th parliamentary election, participated by people enthusiastically, and the government is running the country by putting emphasis on public desires. He said leaders of BNP irrationally raised the issue of dialogues before the media. No dialogues are possible with those who kill people by arson violence, shunning the path of democracy, he added. al-Qadir said the next parliamentary election will be held after 5 years. Foreign Minister and Awami League Joint General Secretary Dr. Hassan Mahmood said the government is working with various international organizations to rescue 23 Bangladeshi sailors held hostage by Somali pirates. The minister said the government has already alerted naval ships of the UK, the USA, India and China moving in that region over the Bangladeshi ship. The government has already sought required assistance from the Pirate Reporting Center in Kuala Lumpur, Indian Fusion Center in New Delhi, and the relevant body of Information Center in Singapore, he added. Dr. Hassan Mahmood said this while replying to queries of journalists at Senate Bhavan of Dhaka University today. The Foreign Minister said Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is informed and very concerned over the incident.
ইতিপূর্বেও একই কোম্পানির একটি জাহাজ এভাবে জলদস্যুরা নিয়ন্ত্রণে নিয়েছিল। 3 মাস পর সেই জাহাজ এবং ক্রুদের উদ্ধার করা হয়েছিল। ইতিমধ্যে আমরা রিপোর্টিং সেন্টার ইন কুয়ালালামপুর, ইন্ডিয়ান ফিউশন সেন্টার ইন নিউ দিল্লি, তারপর সিঙ্গাপুরে, এছাড়া অল নেভাল শিপস ফ্রম USA, UK, ইন্ডিয়া, চায়না অপারেটিং ইন দ্যাট এরিয়া আমরা রিপোর্ট করেছি। অন্যান্য সূত্রের মাধ্যমেও আমরা যোগাযোগ করার চেষ্টা করছি। যারা জাহাজটাকে হাইজ্যাক করেছে তাদের সাথে এখনো কন্ট্যাক্ট হয়নি। আমরা সেকেন্ড পার্টির মাধ্যমে চেষ্টা করছি এবং সমস্ত জায়গায় যেখানে যেখানে জানানো প্রয়োজন সেটা জানিয়েছি। গোয়েন্দা সংস্থাগুলো কাজ করছে। মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী এই বিষয়ে অত্যন্ত কনসার্ন। এই বিষয়টি মন্ত্রিসভায়ও অনানুষ্ঠানিক আলোচনা এটি আলোচিত হয়েছে। আমাদের উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে এই জাহাজটাকে এবং একই সাথে নাবিকদেরকে মুক্ত করা।
Earlier, addressing a seminar, Foreign Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood emphasized on development and welfare of women to enrich the nation. The seminar was organized by Bangomata Sheikh Fazilutun-Nisa Center for Gender and Development Studies of Dhaka University, marking the International Women's Day at Senate Bhavan Auditorium of Dhaka University. Presided over by Vice Chancellor of Dhaka University, Professor Dr. A.S.M. Maqsood Kamal, the discussion was also participated by President of Bangladesh Alliance for Women Leadership, Nasim Firdaus, Director General of Bangladesh Institute of Development Studies, Dr. Binayak Sen, Dean of Social Sciences Faculty in Dhaka University, Professor Dr. Zia Rahman, and Professor Dr. Tania Haq. The government is making all-out efforts to bring back the sailors of Bangladeshi ships held hostage by pirates in the Indian Ocean. State Minister for Shipping Khalid Mahmood Chaudhry made the comments before the reporters at the ministry on Monday. Quoting latest news received, the state minister said Bangladeshi sailors are safe. He said Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has directed the Foreign Minister to take necessary steps for a safe return of the sailors. Besides, other organizations concerned are working as per the directives of the Prime Minister.
প্রথম যে আমরা বিষয়টি গুরুত্ব দিয়েছি সেটা যে 23 জন নাবিক আছে, সেই 23 জন নাবিকের জীবন নিরাপদ রাখা এবং সেই জীবন রক্ষা করে তাদেরকে আমাদের নিরাপদ জায়গায় নিয়ে আসাটা হচ্ছে আমাদের প্রথম কাজ। এটা হচ্ছে আমাদের ফার্স্ট প্রায়োরিটি, সেভাবে আমরা কাজ করেছি। এবং আমাদের যে ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক যে জোন আছে, আমাদের ফরেন মিনিস্ট্রি, তারা এই ব্যাপারে পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করতেছে যে কিভাবে আন্তর্জাতিক এই বিষয়গুলোর সঙ্গে যুক্ত হয়ে আমাদের নাবিকদেরকে রক্ষা করা এবং জাহাজটাকে উদ্ধার করা যায়।
Meanwhile, there are various reports that Somali pirates are taking the hijacked Bangladeshi ship towards the territory they control off the coast of Somalia. Bangladesh Railway will begin selling advanced train tickets from March 24, marking the upcoming Eid al-Fitr. Tickets will be available of April 3rd, will be sold on March 24th. Railway Authority disclosed this at a press conference, with Rail Bhavan assuming April 10 as the probable date of Eid al-Fitr. Railway Minister Zilul Hakim, Secretary Dr. Humayun Kabir and Acting Director General of Railway Shardar Shahadat Ali were present at the press briefing. The press briefing also informed that the sale of advance return train tickets to Dhaka will be available from April 3rd and continue till April 9th. Advance train tickets for 7 days will be sold for the first time this year. The advance tickets will also be sold online this year. Addressing the press conference, the Railway Minister said stern measures have been taken to prevent black marketing of railway tickets.
টিকেট কালোবাজারি বন্ধ করার জন্য আমরা প্রত্যেকটি সরকারি এজেন্সির যারা আছেন তাদেরকে আমরা কালোবাজারি বন্ধ করার জন্য এনগেজ করেছি। তারাও থাকবে, আমাদের রেলের কর্মকর্তারা থাকবে এবং যত রকম ব্যবস্থা নেওয়া সম্ভব এগুলো আমরা এবার নিয়েছি। আমরা যাত্রীদের অসুবিধা করে, রেলের সুনাম ক্ষুণ্ণ করে আমরা কাউকে কোনো সুযোগ সুবিধা দিতে রাজি না, সে যেই হোক না কেন।
Ready-to-cook fish program has been launched today at various points in the capital. Fisheries and Livestock Minister Mohammad Abdur Rahman inaugurated the selling program at Bangladesh Fisheries Development Corporation at Karwan Bazaar. The selling program will be continued at 16 points by mobile cars. All varieties of formalin-free, local and sea fishes will be sold through this selling program at affordable prices. People can also place orders online under the Ready-to-Cook Fish program. Bangladesh urges the international community to intensify pressure on the occupying power, Israel, and its apartheid government to stop the violent attack on civilians, to allow Palestinians to rebuild their economy with international support, and to allow Palestinian workforce to resume employment in Israel. Prime Minister's Principal Secretary Mohammad Tofazol Hossein Mia made the call while addressing an international conference in Switzerland today.
Condemn Israel for its blatant violations of international humanitarian and human rights laws. To conclude, Bangladesh condemns Israeli efforts to deport people out of Gaza and demands immediate ceasefire and full and unhindered access to humanitarian assistance. Full implementation of 3 Rs, relief, review and recovery, can only be possible with an end of genocidal attack on innocent civilians and infrastructures. Bangladesh would like to urge the international community to intensify pressure on the occupied power, Israel and its apartheid government, to stop this violent attack on civilians, to allow Palestinians to rebuild their economy with international support, and to allow Palestinian workforce to resume employment. With these comments, Bangladesh supports the YC amendment.
Moving on to some international news. Starvation is being used as a weapon of war in Gaza, the U.S. Foreign Policy Chief has claimed. Josep Borrell described the lack of aid entering the territory as a man-made disaster. A Spanish ship carrying desperately needed food supplies has left Cyprus for Gaza, but the UN says this cannot replace the delivery of aid by land. The quickest, most effective way to get aid into the territory is by road, but aid agencies said Israeli restrictions mean a fraction of what is needed is getting in. Attention has instead shifted towards alternative routes, including sea and airdrops. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has meanwhile vowed to press on with an offensive in southern Gaza. Wafa news agency reports dozens of casualties after Israeli forces launched attacks across the Gaza Strip overnight. At least 31,184 Palestinians have been killed and 72,889 injured in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. U.S. President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump have both passed the delegate thresholds to clinch their party's nominations for the election in November. 4 states, 1 American territory, and Democrats living abroad held their primaries today. The result means U.S. voters face a rematch of the 2020 presidential election in the 8 months' time. The nominations will be made official at party conventions this summer. The 81-year-old president said on Tuesday evening that he was honored voters had backed his re-election bid in a moment when the threat Trump poses is greater than ever. Citing positive economic trends, he asserted the U.S. was in the middle of a comeback but faced challenges to its future as a democracy, as well as from those seeking to pass abortion restrictions and cut social programs. Meanwhile, 77 years old Mr. Trump remains very popular with the Republican voter base, which has propelled him to victory in primary after primary over well-funded rivals. His campaign for a second term in the White House has zeroed in on stricter immigration laws, including a pledge to seal the border and implement record-setting deportations. Mr. Trump has also vowed to fight crime, boost domestic energy production, tax foreign imports, end the war in Ukraine, and resume an America First approach to global affairs. President Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia is ready to use nuclear weapons if there is a threat to its statehood. In a recorded interview broadcast by Russian media on Wednesday, the Kremlin chief said his country is ready for a nuclear war from a military technical point of view. His comments signal a resumption of nuclear saber-rattling as it was branded a year ago, just ahead of the weekend's presidential election. 2 weeks ago, Putin claimed during an annual address to the nation of a real risk of nuclear war if Western countries sent troops to fight in Ukraine. On Wednesday, he insisted that Russia's nuclear arsenal and troops hold advantage over the West. The United States will send a new military aid package for Ukraine worth $300 million. President Joe Biden's administration said on Tuesday, the first such move in months, as additional funds for Kyiv remain blocked by Republican leaders in Congress. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the funding was coming from unanticipated cost savings from Pentagon contracts and would be used for artillery rounds and ammunitions for high-mobility artillery rocket systems, HIMARS. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder said the package included anti-aircraft missiles and artillery rounds. He said providing weapons to Ukraine through Pentagon contract savings was likely a one-time situation and not a sustainable way of funding Kyiv. The U.S. House passed legislation that could ban TikTok in the U.S. unless the app parts ways with its Chinese parent company ByteDance. It's a major challenge to one of the world's most popular social media platforms used by 170 million Americans. Lawmakers supportive of the bill have argued TikTok poses a national security threat because the Chinese government could use its intelligence laws against ByteDance, forcing it to hand over the data of U.S. app users. It's not yet clear what the fate of the measure will be in the Senate. If enacted, the bill would give TikTok about 5 months to separate from ByteDance, or app stores in the U.S. would be banned from hosting it on their platforms. In a statement, TikTok blasted the House vote and urged the Senate to consider the facts. China's foreign ministry responded angrily ahead of the vote, calling it an act of bullying. Now the timing for Sehri tonight and Iftar tomorrow. Last time for Sehri tonight in Dhaka and its adjoining areas is 4:49 a.m. and Iftar tomorrow at 6:11 p.m. in Dhaka and its adjoining areas. Moving on to news and weather. Met Office in its weather forecast till 6 p.m. tomorrow said rain or thunder showers accompanied by temporary gusty wind is likely to occur at 1 or 2 places over Khulna, Borishal, Dhaka and Sylhet divisions and the regions of Kumilla and Noakhali. Night temperature may rise slightly and day temperature may fall slightly over the country, said the Met Office. Moving on to news and sports. Bangladesh beat Sri Lanka by 6 wickets in the first ODI of 3-match series in Chattogram. Chasing the victory target of 256 runs, Bangladesh reached their destination for 4 wickets. Najmul Shanto bagged third ODI century of his career and scored 122 runs. Earlier, Sri Lanka batted first and scored 255 runs for all in 48 overs and 5 balls. To end the bulletin, headlines once again. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina instructs to construct modern storage centers for agri-products in the country's 8 divisions to keep supply of daily commodities normal in the market. There is no crisis in the country to initiate political dialogue. BNP's demand to hold dialogues is meaningless, says al-Qadir. Government working with international support to ensure safe release of Bangladeshi sailors held hostage by Somali pirates, says Foreign Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood. Government continues its efforts to safely bring back the crew of hijacked Bangladeshi ship in the Indian Ocean, says State Minister for Shipping. Bangladesh Railway will start selling advanced train tickets from March 24 and continue till March 30 ahead of Eid al-Fitr. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reaffirms to conduct ground operation at Rafah in Gaza. And Bangladesh beat Sri Lanka by 6 wickets at first ODI of 3-match series in Chattogram. That's all from the newsroom for the moment. Thank you for staying with us and invite you to watch our 11:30 Bangla News. Until then, Khuda Hafiz.